Hey moms, it's Laura Ollinger. Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. Because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world. This is part 2 of my conversation with Marcus Weiss, a motivational speaker, performer, director, and coach. Okay, I want to shift over to a little bit of a more challenging and kind of personal topic. And feel free to, I always tell my guests, share what you want, don't share what you don't want. It's up to you. But what do you do when you have a partner? And I'm not saying your partner's like this, but I'm just saying for the moms, right? Because all the moms perceivably either have a co-parent or a partner or an ex or somebody. In my case, I have an ex, right? Where you're not on the same page as far as everything that we just described, like this positive expectancy or kind of, feelings of joy that you just want to feel in your day. And let's just say hypothetically, you have a negative partner. How do you deal with that or do that? Because that partner has such an influence. I'm all about like energy in the home, like good energy. I want good energy in my home. If you come in my home, we're going to have good enery. Nobody in here you're not allowed to, if you're negative, you're not invited. Sorry.
Right? Allergic to negativity. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
You can stay outside in the doghouse or something like that.
Yeah.
That was actually quite a funny metaphor. But anyway, what do you say to those moms? What do you say to them?
Joy lives in and comes from the inside. Right? Really, it's independent, ideally, or from outside conditions in a way. So that inner pilot light of joy that we all have is our inner pilot light of joy. Nobody can really blow that out in theory.
Right.
And by joy, by the way, I include awe and wonder about life. So it's not necessarily just hey, let's go. It can be a peace. It can be a flow.
Yeah.
That light inside of us can be as small, like I said, a pilot light for those of us who remember that in gas stoves and so that's on all the time. Or it can be this huge flame. And it's important to recognize that so that when we go through the day and maybe we're going and we're doing all this, and then like you said, that partner is in our life or we intersect with somebody or something that is not of that energy. Just because we might, out of perhaps respect, out of love, out of trying to work something out, we turn that light down a bit. Or we don't, because we don't want to be in somebody's face because that might create another whole thing that we need to deal with. Or that knowing that just because we're turning it down for a second doesn't mean that we need to be enjoying it less. We're just it's like we have a candle. It's like we have a candle, and just so it doesn't blow out, we put our hand in front of it. Put your hand in front of it. And I think it's important to recognize that this is joy, and just because it goes down a little, we don't in here have to go like, oh, there goes my joy. That's it. Because I want to make sure that our audience and our listeners don't feel that you have to resolve everything, that the other person has to get on that same page for us to continue to keep that light on inside, for us to know that we still have that joy inside of us, and that this too shall pass. This moment too shall pass. This intersection with our ex or this intersection with this mood of our significant other, this day, this night, this too shall pass. My joy shall continue. And then there's, there's the other thing of shifting into, living is giving. And so you just show up in that light, no matter what. And getting into that is a practice. Getting into that is a practice. And recognizing just what you said, even that recognition of we're in this space and that person isn't, that is a little traffic signal of like, oh, well, if that's the case, I have the choice to turn my open hand into a fist and encounter this, or I can keep it open and do this.
Oh.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're like, you're open to the world. This comes in. Oh, do I do this or do I go like this? Or be ready for this. the recognition is that sign for you to take a breath and put a smile on your face, or take a breath and keep the smile going on the inside. I know that this sounds or may sound a little esoteric, or may sound a little, whether it's, woo-woo, or it might sound impractical, but to me, it starts with those big concept things.
Yeah.
Because the practical aspects of it differ.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm glad that you kind of kept it high level on that, because I think that this could be going in so many different directions. But I think you gave us the ideas and the concepts that are important. Yes. And I'm very visual, so I love all the hand gestures, and then like kind of protecting your candle, and it doesn't go out. It might just be a little protected, or maybe it gets to shine brighter when this person's off at work and this person's with the kids, or right? You get a little more space and maybe it gets bigger, or maybe you just keep it big all the time the way you want to be. And guess what? That's an influence on your children in the home. They get to see your light shining brightly no matter what, regardless of conditions or circumstance. So I felt like you really covered that very, very well. And I think that people could get what they needed out of that, whatever, they're in. And, maybe they have a partner that's just equally as fantastic as they are. And I'm sure they still got something out of that, because the thing is, we all encounter these other types of people in our life at some place, right? Whether it's, just a friend or a family member, or someone they come upon in public, where it's like, ooh, they're, they're not in that space that I am. And sometimes I'm maybe overpowering them, or do I tame it down? Do I keep it up? Like, what do I do with this energy?
You just, in the end, you keep it going for a multitude of reasons. Because it's going to keep you in a life affirming space that you're going to keep wanting to move forward. It's going to magnetize ultimately those to you that you are meant to be around. And thirdly, hopefully it will eventually light the candle that's not on in somebody else, because anyone who's not showing up in light is living from a place of darkness. And that's ultimately sad and in some ways, and should elicit even more light from us if we're coming from a compassionate, empathetic place. And the practical details of this, and how to apply this to our listeners' lives specifically, could, we could learn. We can continue to have conversations, outside of this particular episode. And that's something that if you were to talk to myself or yourself individually, or in group scenarios, we can get into the details of things.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's like the perfect way to kind of round out things right now. So going forward, how can people get into the Marcus Weiss experience?
I am the Marcus Weiss Experience on Instagram. I am Marcus Jacob Weiss on Facebook. Please find me there. And I'm also on the World Wide Web at www, you guessed it, themarcusweissexperience.com. So if you'd like to, please connect with me on one of those platforms. And I'm so honored and blessed to have been on this podcast with you today, Laura. And I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh my gosh, it's been fantastic. And, this exceeded my expectations. I knew I would be smiling so much that like my cheeks were hurt, but honestly, it wasn't just all pure joy. We went through everything because we took it into reality, and like what people are really feeling, and how, they can make a transformation in their life, and like the things that they can do. And starting with, being in the grocery store line and focusing on, for me, I looked at the plant in my office here, for you, it was, find something, or your Christmas tree in your room, and, everybody just focus on something, find something joyful. And you gave us so many other tips. It was fantastic. Marcus Weiss, thank you so much. It was amazing. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast, because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends.